All right, welcome back everyone to another Farming Smarter plot shot. Thanks for joining us in the field here. It's going to be a beautiful hot day again. And right now we're standing by a weed trial, an in-crop weed trial that we are conducting for Alba. And we're going to just be talking about a weed trial and then what goes into it and what we have to do for evaluations. So with this trial we have wheat and it's in crop, so around the 3 to 4 leaf, we sprayed the trial. And I'm going to be evaluating the mustard that you see in there with the yellow, and kochia, and the wild oats, and also dandelion over here. We set these plots up on 2.5 meters because we have a 2-meter boom, and that extra half a meter gives us a check strip, which you can come and see over here, where the weeds don't get sprayed. And also that gives us a buffer so that from each treatment to the next, we're not contaminating the plots. Yeah, because we don't want to have that interference between plots. The first thing that I do when I come to evaluate is I'll check the stages of the weeds, and I'll see what does the untreated check look like, so that I can compare every other treatment to the untreated check. And yeah, as you can see here, there's lots of weeds and they're really big, so it makes it quite easy to evaluate the trial. If sometimes I have to try to find a weed because there's not many, then I'm sifting through the crop and it can be kind of time consuming and hard. But here we have lots of weed pressure, which is nice. So I'll measure the weeds and I'll get an average height, a max height, and a minimum height. And I'll also record the density of the weeds per meter squared. And this just gives us data on what's the density, what's the weed pressure, and what are they supposed to be in stage and in height. So that when I go to check my treatments, I can say, oh, well, these weeds have been stunted because they're a lot shorter. They're not at the same growth stage. And then I can base my evaluation on that. Or there's like a lot less weeds here compared to the check. And that just gives me information on so that I can make my assessment. With this trial, we're doing a phytotoxicity rating. So does that chemical hurt the crop? And how much? Is it stunting the crop, or is it causing the leaves to die? Or is it affecting the heads? And then we do a control rating on the weeds, and that's a 0. Both of those are 0 to 100%, and it's a visual rating just based on what we see there throughout the whole plot. With this one, this is the best treatment right here, and we can see from the untreated to this treatment, we have really good control of the wild oats. We have okay control of the kochia in there. It's more like a suppression. Yeah, and if we scan along quickly, we can just quickly see with the wild oats what kind of control we have. There's a couple treatments that are just hurting the wild oats and some that are not doing anything. And so I'll go through every plot and give a rating, and then usually we rate 3 or 4 times depending on the trial and the protocol, and that's usually once every week and a half for about a month. And that gives us a really good picture of what that chemical is doing. So you can think, for example, maybe a chemical at first, it really hurts the weeds and it looks like it has really good control, but maybe those weeds grow through that injury, and by harvest, that plot is looking like a weedy mess, or that chemical does a really good job, it really kills those weeds and allows the crop to come in and compete, and by harvest it looks really nice. So it gives us a good picture of what's happening with that chemical if we do a longer term rating. We will harvest this trial and we'll get a yield, and then that'll help us also compare those ratings and see which chemical was doing the best. Yeah, so that's kind of a day in the life of Trevor here and our other guys that are doing ratings like this. Right now we're in the busy season of ratings right up until till harvest. So that's the majority of my time. Thanks for joining us again, guys, and check out our other content.